Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Religious Education Initiative. This is week 14 of year 2, day 1. We're continuing through Genesis with the second half of chapter 12. So last time we saw Abram leave his father's house and go where God called him and arrive in the land of Canaan, which God promised to give to his descendants. He was moving from north to south through the land, together with his wife Sarai and his nephew Lot, and those with them. But as we will see, there's going to be a famine, a severe food shortage, and this will result in Abram going somewhere else, somewhere God did not command him to go. So, this is verse 10 of chapter 12. Now, there was a famine in the land. So Abram went down to Egypt to reside there as an alien, for the famine was severe in the land. When he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "I know well that you are a woman beautiful in appearance, and when the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but they will let you live. Say you are my sister, so that it may go well with me because of you, and that my life may be spared on your account." When Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. When the officials of Pharaoh saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And for her sake he dealt well with Abram, and he had sheep, oxen, male donkeys, male and female slaves, female donkeys, and camels. But the Lord afflicted Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. So Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her for my wife? Now then, here is your wife. Take her and be gone." And Pharaoh gave his men orders concerning him, and they set him on the way with his wife and all that he had. Now, this is a weird story to us. We can get bogged down in trying to explain what exactly is going on, and it's likely that there are a lot of things going on here that we don't necessarily understand. There's a few points I want to highlight. If we're looking for an immediate and obvious takeaway, the clear takeaway is that God treats marriage as something sacred, something holy, not to be taken lightly, not to be played with, so that when Abram goes and his wife is taken by the king of Egypt, God intervenes in such a way as to both protect her and protect their marriage. We can say this is just because God has plans for Abram, but God could raise up anybody as well. God is protecting Abram. We might believe, and I think it's probably correct to say, that Abram shouldn't have gone to Egypt. God called him to leave his father's house and to go into Canaan, which was the land God had promised to him. God did not tell him, that we see, to go into Egypt. So we don't always get a clear moral drawn for us in the Old Testament, but it's not the worst thing to assume that if someone does something that God didn't tell them to do, and it goes badly, we're intended to draw the moral that what they did was wrong. So the idea here might be, and this is certainly consistent with other places in Scripture, Abram was commanded by God to go into the land of Canaan. And when there was a famine, God wanted Abram to trust him, and God would care for him. Abram instead went into Egypt and had any number of problems. And God protected him, but he needed to go back again. Now, you could also make the argument that this was indeed how God did provide for Abram, because after all of this, he has all of these things, the sheep, the oxen, the donkeys, and so forth, that the Pharaoh gave him for his sister, who was actually his wife, and then he gave Sarai back to him and sent him away, but he still had all this stuff. We could take it that way. But I think it's better if we, I think it makes more sense if we understand Abram was supposed to trust God, and that this goes poorly, this lie that he tells, is an indication that he wasn't supposed to, he was supposed to trust God. God would have taken care of him in Canaan without him needing to go to Egypt. Now, the other thing we might think of, this could be included in the scripture for kind of two reasons, as a bit of a bridge between what's already happened and what's going to happen. Because we see elements here of the same kind of thing that happened with Ham and with Noah. Ham was trying to gain authority, gain position, gain power over other people for the sake of his own wealth, his own pleasure, his own whatever. And his descendants here in Egypt are still functioning that way. Apparently, anytime a beautiful woman comes into Egypt, the Pharaoh has people looking out for her to add her to his harem, or something like that. But this household of Ham, the nation of Egypt, is very powerful and has domination over a great part of the world, at least the area. Where Abram, a descendant of Shem, is poor. Poor. He's a wanderer. He's a nomad. He doesn't have any land of his own. But we see God protecting Abram even in the face of the immense power of Pharaoh. The other thing that some commentators have pointed out is that this is a little bit of a foreshadowing of what's going to happen to Abraham's descendants, the Israelites, when they go into Egypt. They go into Egypt because of a famine. When they are there for a while, the Egyptians start to feel threatened by them, so they enslave them all. And then the Pharaoh has the idea, if we kill all the male babies and only leave females, then, this nation will just go away, and we can take the females, and they'll eventually become just part of the nation of Egypt if we just get rid of the men. So there's a little bit of a commonality here. We could even say a foreshadowing of the Exodus, because when Abram leaves, as when his descendants leave, he leaves enriched, still whole because God has protected him, but enriched by the possessions of the Egyptians. So a lot of things going on, but if we're looking for a simple takeaway, God holds marriage sacred, and we should too. We shouldn't play games with this. And when we're called to trust God, we should trust God and not necessarily go looking for our own solution. This is something that happens time and again throughout the scripture. People are commanded to trust God, and instead they go and look for an alliance with, actually it's usually an alliance with Egypt. So maybe that's why this is here, as a reminder to the Israelite people. Don't go to Egypt when you're looking for help. Turn to God. He will take care of you. So anyway, it's an odd little story, but one that we need to be familiar with for these reasons. And it's a good preparation for where we're going to go next, because after we finish talking about Christmas and Theophany, as we enter into the new year, we're going to read how God brings the descendants of Abraham, how he brings the Israelites out of Egypt after they're enslaved. So we're going to take a break from Genesis for the next few weeks, but we'll return. For now, God bless you all. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you for day 2.